My name is Brent Lawles, and I work as the Director of Physician Compensation here at OSF Healthcare, and I'm responsible for the administration of all our compensation plans for our physicians here at OSF. So before we went through a system selection and selected ProCARE, we processed all our compensation through a series of databases and Excel spreadsheets like many. And we went into a system selection process to find a system that could help us with automation, also transparency into calculations. And those were some of the main drivers behind what we were trying to accomplish with a new system. Working with ProCARE has been a very good experience for us here at OSF. From the very beginning of system selection and through the discovery and design and build process, been a very good experience. It's taken us longer than we initially thought, but we've been far more thorough in our build. We have experienced the benefits of ProCARE and the rules engine that is the platform behind it. Being able to adapt and build our compensation plans. Some of our plans are a little more complex with things like panel size, productivity, team-based care metrics. And so the build behind ProCARE, very comprehensive and very powerful rules engine to help us make the calculations and apply the logic as we have designed. ProCARE has allowed us to increase the transparency in our calculations. As I said before, we used to use Excel spreadsheets and databases. We produced reports. They were very static in nature as of a point in time. We have a comprehensive reporting system that ties in with all of our financials and productivity-based information. While we had that reporting available to us, it was static in nature. And what ProCARE is allowing us to do is to continue to provide that snapshot in time, push that information to a provider so they see it in their inbox. They don't have to go look for it. They get that information, and then that particular vehicle serves as an avenue for them to get into ProCARE, look at that static snapshot, and then look at the detail behind what led to that within the application. So ProCARE supports our vision because it allows us to get information into the hands of our physicians and our providers to help them understand how their compensation works. It also helps us drive initiatives as much as physician comp is not a management tool. It does influence behavior. And so we are using ProCARE to align all of our quality metrics as well as our value-based metrics. Just a year ago, we adopted a standard set of metrics that all align with the drivers in our value-based contracts. And so those are used across all of our compensation plans. And again, with ProCARE, we are able to put that information in the hands of the provider to see how that impacts their compensation. Physician trust is a delicate thing. One mistake can lead to years of distrust and questioning of the accuracy of the compensation. So transparency is something that it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You open yourself up to a lot more questions. Physicians are able to see a lot more data. There's a learning curve with that to learn how to consume that. But in the end, physicians like to be able to see that a number on a page is truly represented by their own activity or one of the drivers, whether that be a metric or a particular level of productivity or panel size as a component in some of our compensation plans. That all helps them build trust in seeing that the calculation behind their compensation is following the plan and makes sense. OSF is unique because we are truly a ministry. The Sisters of the Third Order of St. Francis lead our organization, provide oversight, but they refer to us as mission partners. we are an extension of them. And so it truly allows us as fellow mission partners to serve in the mission, which is primarily to serve in the Spirit of Christ. And so we get to partner as with the sisters in serving our communities in different capacities in different ways. And I think that's very unique and gratifying for me as an individual professionally to be involved in something that allows me to incorporate my faith as well as my skills and ability. We do have some unique components to our compensation plan. A number of years ago, we incorporated panel size into primary care, and that's been probably about 4 years ago. Panel size is definitely a major driver for our primary care physicians. Productivity has certainly been a component and a staple for many compensation plans, and remain a major driver in all of our plans. We offer pooled plans that have both individual as well as shared compensation that is both team-based, regional, or market-based components that drive the compensation and allow people to participate as a group and as the group does well. So do the individuals in it. We do have shared and individual components in several plans. Our pooled plan is one example. Our primary care plan is a tier-based plan, and much of the main driver is individual-based, but there are certainly the incentives tied to team-based care that incorporate the overall performance of the team within, say, an office or a pod. And so we do have different components that allow us to compensate people for not only their individual performance, but then a team-based approach. So we've included our value-based metrics in our compensation plans, a standard set of metrics that really drive our value-based contracts. Those metrics are reported regularly through ProCARE, and they are standard across all of our compensation plans. Like all compensation plans, benchmarks are an important component, especially from a fair market value and commercial reasonableness perspective. We use a standard approach, really. We use a 3-source average for the standard benchmarks. Benchmarks are certainly the foundation, but they're not absolute. We have a pretty robust governance structure within OSF that sets the standards for our compensation plans. And so while benchmarks are certainly a guide, again, they serve to help us determine fair market value. We also have processes to allow us to respond to market pressures, strategic need, as well as recruiting difficulties and such. So we certainly incorporate the benchmarks into all of our plans and use those as a guide. But they also serve just as a guide and not an absolute. So we decided to go with ProCARE for one major reason, and that was the flexibility. A lot of other platforms offer reporting, transparency, all the standard things, but the flexibility of ProCARE and the powerful rules engine that's behind it allows us the ability to grow, modify our plans, model future plans, potentials, do more from an analytical standpoint. It does allow us to be more flexible in how we calculate and how we compensate our physicians. Certainly, the other key was transparency. I do think ProCARE offers a unique take on transparency just from not only the ability to push information and pull information, as well as presenting information in detail within the application, dashboarding, all those standard things. But it definitely allows us the vehicle to increase our transparency and build the trust of our physicians. And I know that's important to ProCARE as well as to OSF. So ProCARE has allowed us to adapt. It is future-proof from the standpoint of allowing us to grow, easily add physicians to the system, change our compensation plans, tweak the ones that we have. ProCARE gives us the ability to forecast changes to our compensation plans more easily than we have in the past. Through the design and build of ProCARE, we've identified several opportunities to do things in a way that not only continues to support our transparency, but makes our processes more efficient. Validations, steps that confirm accuracy. We've been able to do our calculations with less risk of error. It also allows our team to focus on the skills and abilities that they bring to the table and less on just the processing of data. ProCARE has certainly given us new ideas about how we can take the small team that we have and deploy those resources more efficiently and effectively for the organization. The selection and implementation of ProCARE established physician compensation at OSF as a priority. Physicians and leaders recognize that the expenditure of the organization and the importance that we place on the accuracy and the transparency of our physicians' compensation was important enough to warrant a selection of a system and a very comprehensive system to help us with those calculations. So the commitment level of the organization to purchase ProCARE spoke volumes. The initial rollout of access to ProCARE showed many physicians that we are committed to showing you the detail behind the calculations. It's not a black box. Much of our historical calculation was very difficult for physicians to understand, didn't connect all the dots, and therefore didn't trust the accuracy of the information. And obviously, human intervention in calculations and manually doing those led to errors. And so the fact that ProCARE has already processed compensation, it does it repetitively, consistently, and shown the detail behind it, has already shown many physicians that our commitment is real to giving them the level of understanding and transparency that they desire, and it positions our group to be able to answer those questions, build trust, and instill confidence in our physicians. Getting information and data out of ProCARE is very easy. They have many options for exporting data for external analysis, as well as being able to view each component of your data and calculations throughout the process. We are able to monitor fair market value, commercial reasonableness in real time. So it takes the most recent results that we publish and gives us a look into the results in the perspective of our internal determination of guidelines for fair market value and commercial reasonableness. And it allows us to do that proactively as opposed to reactively. Like many organizations, we have a pretty complex process to close out a particular fiscal year for physician compensation. As a result, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of things that have to be considered and processed. ProCARE certainly offers the ability to automate and consistently process information. By taking a lot of the manual steps, the need to reprocess for errors, it's allowed our team to be more efficient. We're still waiting to see some of the benefits of that as we learn from ProCARE and learn what the system can do. But it has allowed us to simplify as well as improve our accuracy from the standpoint of consistent calculations and process. As I mentioned before, ProCARE allows us to monitor fair market value and commercial reasonableness in real time. We review their monthly results, data, and trends to proactively look for concerns related to fair market value and commercial reasonableness. We have been on a journey over the last 5 years to improve our overall performance of our plans and the results coming out of those calculations. We have decreased over the last few years the number of individuals that we send out for external opinion on fair market value, and I believe that's because we're more proactive in reviewing that information and better able to understand the drivers behind our compensation and supporting that. ProCARE is very flexible. At the heart of ProCARE is, in my mind, the rules engine. It allows you to build logic. If you can imagine a logical process, you can build a rule to support it. So it definitely gives you flexibility. It also allows the client to understand the system and build rules and processes on their own without the need for support from ProCARE. So it does give the client the ability to really own the system and build in it the processes needed. The capability and flexibility of ProCARE have allowed us to think about our compensation plans in new ways. As we've come to understand the capability of the rules engine in ProCARE, we've been able to consider specialties and other groups of physicians to participate in plans like our pooled plan to expand the application of that plan as well as the logic and the methodologies behind it. ProCARE has allowed us to incorporate information from several different systems within OSF. Things like payroll data, information from our HR system, but also from our data analytics team. We have a standard reporting platform for our ministry and particularly for our physician practices. We are able to automatically incorporate the data that also supports those mechanisms into our compensation plans. It allows us to add and subtract metrics with very little effort. It allows us to, again, connect the dots for the physician to show the things that are driving their performance at a practice level, also having influence in their compensation and incentivizes them to reach for the goals that are laid out in those. From the beginning, ProCARE demonstrated an understanding of physician compensation, not only from a productivity side of things and operational experience within healthcare, but also the complexity that comes along with compensating physicians fairly, equitably, but also in a way that aligns to a particular organization's goals and strategies. That understanding has led to our ability to build a compensation plan and a platform that brings the level of transparency and understanding that we believe will drive future success of OSF in the physician compensation space, as well as strategically aligning our providers